All right, good evening, one and all. Welcome to another C++ tutorial. And in this video, we will be learning about, we will create our very own array class. The array class would be having following features. You can add elements to an array by using simply this. You can say A1. Let's say this is your array A1, so you can add elements like 0 comma 1. That means insert 1 at index 0. You can get the elements by saying the this. So this will involve a lot of stuff. We'll be using raw pointers at the back end, so we'll be using pointers to implement this. And also remember, we'll be using operator overloading to like the brackets operator, the stream insertion operation, the assignment operator. These all things we are going to overload. So what are you waiting for? Let's learn everything in action, and let's get started. So very first thing, before even starting your code, I want you guys to do this. Write a description, a small description, which is usually a good habit, whenever you're doing a coding. So you should say author, and you can say your name. So it's usually a good practice to do this. So I have named an author. Version, always give a version so you know what version you're working on. And last modified. So today is 20th September 2019. That's when this is last modified, right? So you know when this was last modified. So these are some of the small things. It does not matter, but remember, this will matter when you go outside for a job, or this will help you out to organize your code very better. So very first thing, I need to create an array class. So here is my array class, right? All right, so in this array class, what would I be having is I will having a public method right now. Let's keep things simple. This will have a size, because we need the size of an array, remember that, which will be an integer, right? We need to define a pointer. So I've just defined a pointer known as array. All right, so once that is done, we need to define the constructor and the destructor, right? Now see how I'm naming this, how I'm giving comments here. So please follow these steps. These are some of the steps that a very good programmer should follow. So now you can say just like so declaring variables, and here constructor and destructor. All right, so that's good. Let's implement our constructor. So the name of the constructor is array. This should be fine, array. All right, so this should take in a size object, a size variable, because our array would be having a size. So I'm gonna say int s. All right, so that's fine. Now what do we want to do here is just want to say cout constructor. All right, so that's done. All right, we forgot one more thing. We need to declare using namespace standard. All right, so looks good. This should now go away, the error. Let's see, using namespace standard. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I don't know why it's oh yeah, so it takes a little time. Right, so our constructor is done. Now we need to allocate memory to our array. So we'll be using dynamically we'll be allocating memory here. So in order to do that, the command would be pretty simple. All you need to declare a first of is pointer. We have already done that. So now in order to use that, I can say array new int, and of course you need to give it the size and followed by a semicolon. All right, so you have given a size. Now what you need to do is basically, let me go over my notes quickly. All right, so once your array is initialized, by default whenever it is initialized it might have a garbage value. So what we want to do is basically we want to initialize all the elements of your array to 0. So we will be doing that now. Let me quickly open my snippets folder so I can copy certain parts. So let's initialize our array. So we will be using a simple for loop to do that. So for int I is equal to 0, I less than size, I plus plus. All right, so that's done. Now what do you want to do is we want to assign this array with 0 values, which is usually a good practice, right? So beautiful guys, that's done. Now we need to define our destructor. Let's pop this off. All right, why am I getting some squiggly lines? All right, so array of I is equal to 0. Make sure to give spaces so to look a little bit better. Close this off, or you know what, let it be. Let's define our destructor. All right, that's our destructor. Usually what do we do in destructor is we usually free the memory, delete. So I'm gonna say delete what, array, and even after deleting it we have to make sure that the pointer points to null ptr. We don't want to point it anywhere else in the memory. So that's done, good job. We can give it a message here. Destructor varying memory. It's fine. All right, so we have our constructor, we have our destructor, right? Now let me just define a no arc constructor. Just 1 second, there is something bothering me a lot. All right, so we have our constructor, we have our destructor. Now let's define our no arc constructor. So that's array. All right, so that's our no arc constructor. Remember, not taking any arguments, right? So what do we want to do? So if user does not specify anything, I mean, you know what, no, let's not create a no arc constructor. I don't want to create that right now. Okay, so we have the constructor, we have the destructor. Now let us simply see if this works. All right, so let's, all right, so what I'm gonna do is basically I'm just gonna create an object known as array, and I'm gonna initialize it to 5. That means the size has to be 5, and let's see if this works first of all. So it's building right now. Here you can see. So here you can see the constructor is called and then the destructor. So that works, right? Now let us write our overload operators so we can see the functions on the screen or the display on the screen. So I'm gonna overload a stream insertion operation or operator, basically, which is which will basically help you to get the output of an object on a console, right? That is what our target is. So let's do that. So first of all, I'm going to use a keyword known as friend, because this object or this class, that is OS stream, we have not written it, someone else has written it, but we want to use it, we want to use it for our own benefit. So we tell it friend. So whenever we say friend, it allows access to that class, or I mean it allows all the access to these attributes, that is the size and the array and stuff like that, right? Let's code this. So I'm gonna say standard OS stream, and I'm gonna overload the operator operator operator. It's gonna be this one. So stream pass by reference array right inside. All right, so that's our simple um, operator overloading, right? And what do we want to do here? So we can tell the size of the array when we print the object. So let's say return OS, right? Okay, so I'm gonna say as size. Since we have marked friend, we can use all of these attributes, but we can also say all right. And one more thing that I need to do is basically I want to basically print the array, what are the data elements. So for int I 0, I less than size, right? So what I'll do, OS, remember we had this should work, right? So that's our very simple class. Now let's test it out. So I can say, remember all the elements are initialized to 0, so we should get 0 0 0 on the screen. So compiling the code now. All right, let's see. All right, the simple mistake, that is the spelling mistake, should be int and not itn. All right, so hopefully this should fix. And one more issue. All right, that should work now. Fine, let's run it. So this should print 0 0 0. Let's see the console. Here you can see object array has 5 elements, that is the size is 5, and all the elements are initialized to 0 because that's what we did in the constructor. Beautiful, guys. Let's move forward. Let us create a method known as which can add elements. The reason I'm creating public again because I like to separate it out for the video. But when you are really like a very professional coder, you can do everything in like one stuff like private and public. But for now, let's keep doing this way so we can clearly see what's going on. So this one will have all the operator overloading. I mean this section, I mean that section, right? I mean this section, right? So let's comment it out. Operator overloading, correct. Now let us write a simple method which can add elements. So this will be our methods. All right, so let's define our first method. So let's say void add elements. All right, so this will take an index because we need to add elements to the array, right? So it will have an index and a data, right? Let's correct that out. Now once we have this, what we want to do is basically we have the array, we have the index, and we have the data. That's what you want to do, right? Makes sense. But we also want to create a method known as getData, which will return this data, right? So let's complete that as well. All right, let's try it. So the data type, return data type would be integer because it's gonna return data. All right, and it's gonna take nothing. All right, so int, and what I want to return is the array, I mean the index also, because whatever index we specify, let's say a1 of like say get data of 0 index, then later on we'll do an operator overloading like the for the brackets. So this would be a much better code later on. So let's see if that first these parts are working at least. So let's add an element a1 dot add elements 1. So I'm inserting 1 at index 0, right? Let's try to get the element. Remember, we are returning an array object, right? So if you wanna print this, basically if you wanna, or what you can do is basically just print the array, or let's just print the array and see what are the elements. So let's run this and see. So we should have 1 0 0 0. So we inserted first element, remember. It takes a little time. So here you can see now we have 1 0 0, right? So that's what we wanted, right? Now let us overload this operator. Instead of specifying add elements like this, I just want to say this way. So how do I do that? So we need to overload the operator, remember. So let's do that. Let's come to this function right here. So let's overload the parentheses, right? So first of all, we need, in order to overload these operators, we need to understand what is the data type, or what are we trying to return back after overloading. So if you're adding elements, you don't need to return anything because the type is gonna be void, right? So let's say void operator. This operator would be the parentheses or parentheses. All right. This will take, of course, we are adding elements, so we need to add, we will take an index and data. Now we just need to add, so array of index data, right? So this should work. Now let us define for a get element, so int, because it's gonna return an integer operator, and again I want to overload this little guy, pass by reference. All right, makes sense. Now to get the data, so we need to pass the data, so, or the index, because you will be getting data based on index since it's an array, right? So I'll say int index and return I want to say array. I'm dereferencing the pointer because remember we want to get the data. If you just say array, oops, sorry, actually I don't need to do a dereferencing because array is nothing but an integer. I mean, it will basically, because array is nothing, I mean array is nothing but a pointer itself, so I don't need to dereference because this will by default take care of that. So hopefully, let's try it out and see. Now instead of this one, let's try a1. I want to add element at 0 index and I want to add 11 to it. Let's print the matrix after that. Let's see if this works. So here you can see 11 is there now, right? Now if I want to get the elements, so instead of printing this entire stuff, I can get the elements based on index 0. So this should just print 11 on the console. Let's try out that. So this will print all the elements, remember the cout 0 0 0, and this should just print 11. Let's see. So here you can see 0 0 0, all zeros, and then let me print this on a new line so I can convince you that this works. So let's try out. So here you can see now we have 11. Beautiful, guys. So we did a really great job. We have overloaded all the operators. Now one more thing we need to do. Let's say I want to copy the array. Let's say I want to copy a1 equals to a2. So we need to overload the assignment operator now. Let's do that, guys. So again, these are all my overloaded operators, right? Now let's do the assignment operator. So in order to do that, so this will basically return an object OPERAT operator, you know, this, and it's gonna take an object passed by reference. Hold on, something is crazy. Oh yeah, passed by reference here as well. That's a little weird. Just give me one sec. Just trying to make sure that everything is correct. Yep, looks fine. Right, all right, so here I'm doing just a simple thing. I'm checking if this is equal to the right hand side. So I'm making sure that if the address are same, then let's say if I say a1 equals to a1, then you should just return a1, right? So in that case, just return this pointer. Else if that's not the case, you want to delete it, delete the current pointer, then create a new memory. I mean, create a new pointer, allocate a dynamic memory as same as that of an array that was previously declared. It's just a simple loop which is copying all the elements and creating a copy of it basically. Here you can see, and then temp equals to RHS dot array. So just essentially doing a copy. Actually, we don't need this. Let's try out this code and see if that works. So what I need to do is basically let's take everything off. Let's add few elements first. At 0 we'll add number 1. At 1 I'll add 2, and at 2 I'll add 3, 4, whatever. Let's print out the array. After printing out, so we want to check the assignment operator if that is working. So create an array of size 5, right? After creating an array, what I need to do is basically I need to so I need to check for the assignment operator. So I can say a2 equals to a1 and print out a2. Oof, that's a lot. So hopefully that works. All right, so I think it is working correctly. So here you can see object array has size 5. So let me go to the driver code and explain you. So when I create this array, so the constructor is called, and we created an array. I added 3 elements in that array and then I'm printing it. So this is again operator overloading. Remember all of these. So here you can see 1, 2, 4 and 0, 0. These are the elements. Rest elements are 0 because we did that in the constructor. Then what I do is basically I create one more array object, so it should call the constructor. So here you can see the constructor is called a2 equals to a1. Here the assignment operator should be called. Assignment operator was called. Now object array has size 5. Here you can see I'm printing it and the elements are as follow. And then finally the destructor is called. So this is the entire array class. I mean that we just coded in C++, right? Now couple of more functionality you can add is you can add elements in an array. So simply one more operator that you would overload would be a plus operator, right? So here you can just keep adding like operator that you want to overload and should work fine. So thank you very much for watching this video. If you have any more questions, concern, please let me know by doing that in the comment section below. Would be very happy to assist you. By the way, the entire code is also there on my GitHub account. So if you are not following me on GitHub, please make sure to follow me on GitHub. I have a lot of cool projects. You can reach me out through YouTube comments. If you still cannot reach me, if you want to talk to me, send me an email at my email ID, or what you can do is go to my Facebook page or LinkedIn or whatever you like and ping me over there, and I'll try to get back to you if I have time. So once again, thank you for watching this video, and see you next time.